Today we will discuss on the topic informatics, which is very significant topics in the present day context of information science and information explosion. At first we will start from the topic origin and development of informatics. Now let us first discuss about the origin of the concept of informatics. Now, informatics is the study, design and development of information technology that generates, stores, processes and presents information. That means the central theme or main focus of the subject informatics is information, and not in a passive form, but information in an active form. That is generation, storage, processing and presentation of information. This is the focal area of informatics. And informatics is referred to as the science of information in contrast to information science. Now we have to point out there is a difference between information science and science of information. Information science, we all know, the subject information science was originated around 1948 and it was first opened by the computer scientist Claude Shannon, and Shannon's model was the starting theory of information science. The field of informatics considers the interaction between information systems and the user, as well as the construction of the interfaces between the two, such as the user interface. Let us discuss on science of information. Actually, we will point out the science of information versus information science. Information science, we have just pointed out, information science deals with the nature, scope and intrinsic behavior of information, its very nature and its contextuality. Actually, the concept of information is highly contextual, but science of information is something different. Now, science of information examines the fundamental principles and laws governing information, its structure, behavior and interactions. The science of information encompasses various disciplines including physics, mathematics, computer science and philosophy. This subject domain seeks to understand the nature of information, its relationship to reality and its role in shaping out understanding of the world. And it asks, what is information? How is it represented, transmitted and processed? What are the limits of potential of information? Now, information science, on the other hand, concerned with the storage, retrieval, dissemination and utilization of information, particularly in the context of human information needs. Now, the scope of information science covers the interdisciplinary domain drawing from computer science, library science, cognitive science and social sciences along with other areas. The information science aims to design, develop and evaluate information systems, services and technologies that support human information behavior. Information science asks, how do people interact with information? This is the main crux point of information science, whereas science of information asks, what is information? How is it represented, transmitted and processed? and what are its limit. So, this is the difference. And information science also asks how can we design effective information systems and what are the social and cultural implications of information technologies. Now, the subject informatics was generated from the scope of the subject of science of information rather than information science. And this is the actual domain of science of information or informatics rather, since now we will say it informatics. This is now information sciences. This is the conceptual and theoretical area and its application domain, and the overlapping of these two develops the domain of informatics. Let us now look for the origin of informatics. Now, in the year 1956, the German informatician Karl Steinbach and engineer Helmut Grotap coined the word Informatik. It is actually a German word. When they developed the Informatik Unledge for the quail mail order management, one of the earliest commercial applications of data processing. In April 1957, Steinbach published a paper called Informatik Automatis Information Informatics Automatic Information Processing. Now, the morphology information or information, actually in German information is pronounced like that, information. So, the morphology information plus ICS uses the accepted form for names of sciences as conics, mathematics, linguistics, optics or matters of practice as economics, politics, tactics, etc. So, ICS, this phrase is important. This is actually a word stem from the viewpoint of linguistics. Therefore, Informath and ICS. The coupling of these two words, not two words, one word and one word stem. Informath is the word and ICS is the stem. So, coupling of Informath and ICS creates the word informatics or informatics. Informatics, German pronunciation, informatics, English pronunciation. And so, linguistically, the meaning extends easily to encompass both the science of information and the practice of information processing. Now, the German word Informatik is usually translated to English as computer science by universities or computer science and engineering by technical universities, which is the German equivalence for institutes of technology. Now, depending on the context, informatics is also translated into computing, scientific computing or information and computer technology. The French term informatique was coined, the spelling is different, in German term informatique, M-A-T-I-K, and the French term informatique, M-A-T-I-Q-U-E, was coined in 1962 by Philippe Dreyfus. In the same month was also proposed independently by Walter F. Bauer and associates, who co-founded software company Informatics Inc. Now, the term for the new discipline quickly spread throughout the Europe and it did not catch on in the United States. Now, over the years, many different definitions of informatics have been developed and most of them claim that the essence of informatics is one of these concepts, that is information processing, algorithms, computation, information, algorithmic processes computational processes or computational systems. Now, the earliest uses of the term informatics in the United States was during the 1950s with the beginning of computer use in the area of healthcare. Initially, the term informatics was introduced in the context of archival science, which is only a small part of informatics. And healthcare informatics is not only the application of computer technology to problems in healthcare, but covers all aspects of generation, handling, communication, storage, retrieval, management, analysis, discovery, and synthesis of data, information, and knowledge in the entire scope of healthcare. Therefore, the application of data, information, and knowledge in the area of healthcare. How health information system is to be managed. This is the root origin of the subject informatics. The primary goal of health informatics can be distinguished as follows: to provide solutions for problems related to data, information, and knowledge processing, and to study general principles of processing data, information, and knowledge in medicine and healthcare. The term health informatics quickly spread throughout the United States in various forms such as nursing informatics, public health informatics, or medical informatics. And analogous terms were later introduced for the use of computers in various fields such as business informatics, forest informatics, legal informatics, etc. These fields still mainly use term informatics in the context of library science. In the early 1980s, K. A. Nicholas published Informatics Ready for the Information Society, proposing a definition of informatics as the study and the practice of skills related to information, its collection, storage, retrieval, analysis, and publication. In short, information handling. Now, K. A. Nicholas published Information Ready for the Information Society in the year 1983 by National Library of Australia. In the early 1990s, K. K. Collin proposed an interpretation of informatics as a fundamental science that studies information processing in nature, society, and technical systems. A broad interpretation of informatics as the study of the structure, algorithms, behavior, and interactions of natural and artificial computational systems was introduced by the University of Edinburgh in 1994. This has led to the merger of the Institutes of Computer Science, Artificial Intelligence, and Cognitive Science into a single school of informatics in 2002. Now, more than a dozen nearby universities joined Scottish Informatics and Computer Science Alliance, and some non-European universities also adopted this definition. For instance, Kyoto University School of Informatics. And in 2003, Wing-Tsu Wang popularized term cognitive informatics, which was described as supplementary to matter and energy. Information is the third essence for modeling the world. Cognitive informatics focuses on internal information processing mechanisms and the natural intelligence of the brain. Therefore, Wing-Tsu treated the concept of informatics from very fundamental viewpoint. And he compared these just like matter and energy, which are most fundamental entities. And he opined that just like matter and energy, information is also very fundamental third essence. Now, informatics as a fundamental science of information in natural and artificial systems was proposed in Russia in 2006, and in 2007 the influential book Decoding the Universe was published. Now, the old definition of computer science was the study of phenomena surrounding computers, which is now obsolete. Computing is the study of natural and artificial information processes. The 2008 research assessment exercise of the UK funding councils, including a new computer science and informatics unit of assessment UOA, which scope is described as follows. The UOA includes the study of methods for acquiring, storing, processing, communicating and reasoning about information and the role of interactivity in natural and artificial systems through the implementation, organization and use of computer hardware, software and other resources. The subjects are characterized by the rigorous application of analysis, experimentation and design. In the year 2008, the construction of the Informatics Forum was completed. In 2018, the MIT Swayam College as Computing was established. MIT means Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Its construction is planned to be completed within 2021. Now, let us discuss the essence of the subject informatics as information science. That is, actually, the subject informatics was originated from the viewpoint of the science of information. Actually, the scopes and coverages of the science of information are manifested in such a way, and those facets were later recognized as informatics. Now, what are the consequences observed in informatics as information science, as the consequence of information science? Now, at first, in the fields of geoinformatics or irrigation informatics, the term informatics usually mean information science in the context related to library science. This was the first meaning of informatics introduced in Russia in 1966 by A.I. Mikhailov, R.S. Yasevsky and A.I. Senil, who referred to a scientific discipline that studies the structure and properties of scientific information. Therefore, structure and properties of scientific information, this was the core area actually of the subject informatics. In this context, the term was also used by the International Neuroinformatics Coordinating Facility INCF. Some scientists use this term, however, to refer to the science of information processing but not data management. Now, in the English speaking world, the term informatics was first widely used in the compound medical informatics, taken to include the cognitive information processing and communication tasks of medical practice, education and research, including information science and the technology to support these tasks. Now, many such compounds are now in use. They can be viewed as different areas of applied informatics. The field of informatics can be thought of as the overlap of informational sciences. Informational sciences is also a broad term and it includes information science, computer science, cognitive science and organizational science, and an application domain. Application domain means, for instance, health or clinical, nursing or biology, public health, life sciences or maybe geosciences, etc. These are the areas. An example of this is biomedical informatics, which applies the principles of natural sciences, especially biology and biochemistry, to medicine and healthcare using a variety of technologies. A robust subgroup of informatics is health or medical informatics. Health informatics is a discipline that includes all aspects of healthcare information science, from fundamental research to clinical applications. In addition, health informatics encompasses information related to the understanding and promoting of effective organization, analysis, management and use of healthcare related data. Within the medical informatics category, there are a number of areas of specialization, including there are large number of facets in the health informatics. And health informatics, there are many applications of informatics. For instance, health informatics, bioinformatics, geoinformatics, financial informatics, business informatics, etc. But these subject domains, the subject area health informatics is mostly vast, and it is very vast area and it covers so many facets. To mention a few: clinical informatics, clinical research informatics, consumer health informatics, dental informatics related to dentistry, mental health informatics related to psychiatry, nursing informatics, pharmacy informatics, primary care informatics, public health or population informatics, telemedicine and mobile computing informatics, and translational bioinformatics, veterinary informatics. Now, development of informatics as a subject or discipline. Let us now discuss how the informatics subject was manifested in different databases, and we just first mention the case of Scopus database, which is a bibliographic cum citation database. Now, Scopus database has indexed almost 90,000, that is 89,889, that is almost 90,000 number of documents on informatics up to 20th January 2025. That means just 5 days back. Today is 25th January 2025, and this number of articles was indexed by Scopus just 5 days back in 20th January 2025. Now, let us first see the growth of literature on informatics. In the graph, the years are plotted along y-axis and the number of articles are plotted along x-axis, and this is the graph. The bold line, the zigzag line, this is the actual observed graph, and this is the experimental graph, the bold line. And this pattern, so from 1962 to 67-70, we are seeing the first growth of literature started around 1990s, 94, 1995, and this growth pattern exactly coincides with John Derek de Solla Price's logistic growth pattern. This is the formation phase. According to John Derek de Solla Price, the growth of literature model or the growth pattern of any subject follows an S-shaped logistic graph, and it has 3 phases: at first formation phases, then growth phases, and finally saturation phases. Now, this is the formation phase. The subject informatics was started in the year 1962, and it is very interesting to note, yes, in 1962 the first article was found, and the next article was found in Scopus in 1967, followed by 1970. Therefore, not in 1960s, it can be safely said that the actual the dynamic research area, research activity was started in this subject since 1970s. After 1970, 72, 74, up to 1980, even up to 1990s, the subject was in the formation phase. So, the formation phase for this subject was continued for 20 years. comparatively very long formation phase, and then the growth phase started at 1994, and from 1994 to 2018 we found very quick and rapid growth, and then a little saturation, even little zigzag found after 2020. That may be, even we have found here decrease, a drop in number of publications after 2020, and this drop probably may be due to COVID pandemic situation, for not for anything else. This is only due to COVID pandemic situation. So this graph, and at present that saturation pattern however continued till now. After 2021 only 2 years passed, and in 2024 till date all articles not yet indexed, so it may be expected more articles will be indexed. So if we check this graph after few months, 2 or 3 months, evidently this pattern will be somehow different, and this subject not yet reached at saturation point, it may be safely said, because the trend shows this is a very dynamic and active subject. So very quickly and immediately it will reach to saturation point. This is probably will not happen. And the equation of the growth curve, it is a polynomial growth curve, 4th degree polynomial growth curve of the form y is equal to a x to the 4 plus b x to x cube plus c x square plus d x plus e, where a, b, c, d are constants. These are the values of constants. A is negative, b positive, c is also negative. The values of the constants a and b are very small, particularly the value of a is very, very small, minus 0.0053. Point followed by 2 zeros, so it is negligibly small. So approximately this graph, this is actually accurately derived, therefore approximately this graph is a cubic curve, that is ax cube plus bx square plus cx plus d. Y is equal to ax cube plus bx square plus cx plus d, where a, b, c, d are constants, and the value of the quadratic, the value of the coefficient of the quadratic variable, that is the coefficient of the x square, is bit large, 18, followed by 192, the coefficient of the linear term, and the constant term is also very high, 461. Therefore, the high values of the constants and the increasing values of the constants with the decreasing degree of x, that is x cube, constant value is very less, x4 is also very, very less, and as the power of x decreases, the value of the corresponding constants, the magnitude of the corresponding constants increases, and this pattern indicates rather slow growth of the curve. Therefore, it may be said the growth of this subject has occurred in rather a slow rate but not very fast rate. As this is a, if the growth was very fast, then we found an exponential curve, but this is not an exponential curve, this is a polynomial cubic curve. That is the point. So the subject is, the growth of this subject domain is occurring at a rather slow pace. That means the subject is growing. And next we will see, this is the cumulative growth of literature. The cumulative growth of literature clearly shows this is the best fit curve. In this best fit curve, here the value of r square was 0.97. This is the best fit curve, and for cumulative growth curve also the value of r square is 0.97, and here we found a power model, power curve in the form of y is equal to a into x to the power n, where n is a constant, n is the exponent actually, and here it comes y is equal to 0.0542 x to the 3.305. That is a little larger than x cube. So y is equal to a into x cube. Also cubic power model. This is the growth curve for cumulative growth curve for literature on informatics. Now if we see, this is the actual number of papers starting from 1962. During 1960s, it is very interesting to note, during 1960s, only 2 plus 1, 3, 5, 6, only 6 articles were published on the topic informatics. Starting from 1962 to 1969, only 6 articles were published on informatics. During 1970s also, number of articles was rather less. 1972, 1979, less than 100 even. And after 1980 started to increase, and it crossed 100 in the year 1987, crossed 1000 in the year 2002. And since after the year 2002, crossed 2000 in the year 2005, crossed 3000 in the year 2008, and crossed 4000 in the year 2012. Hence, crossed 5000 in the year 2019. So, initially at the gap of every 3 to 4 years, the number of literature growth was more than 1000 articles were added. But from 2012 to 2018, the growth during 2012 to 2018 was little bit flat. So during that time we found little bit slow growth, and highest number of article, more than 5000, was observed only in the year 2019, just before the year of starting of COVID pandemic situation. And after 2020, the number of article was gradually decreased. 2021, 4,900, followed by 4,800 and 4,300. 2024, 4,400. But what will happen later on, let us see. Only time can say that. So this is the growth of literature pattern of the subject informatics, which shows, yes, the subject is following a continuous growing trend, but the growing trend is little bit slow, not very fast growing trend. That's why the actual growing trend shows cubic curve, polynomial cubic curve, and the cumulative curve shows power cubic curve. But no exponential growth model is observed here. Now, one reason for this slow growth may be the multidisciplinary nature of informatics subject. And actually, there are so many factors. In what way the indexing process in Scopus is done, that is also important. Here, the point is Scopus indexed 89,889, nearly 90,000 articles. This is the total number of not only articles, books, conference proceedings, all forms of documents are here. So Scopus database index 90,000 documents on informatics since 1962 to 2024. So over a span of more than 60 years. So over more than 60 years, 90,000 articles are published. That means on a rough 1,500 articles are published on average at each year, but that is not the case actually, because initial number was very less and later the growth occurs later, because the growth model is this is a power model. This is not an uniform average model, that is true. Now, what I want to point out that there may exist more number of articles not yet indexed by Scopus, that may occur. Therefore, this is to be kept in mind. This number of articles is not the absolute number of articles, and some articles may be missed due to multidisciplinary nature of the informatics subject. Now, Multidisciplinary nature of the informatics subject is clear from the distribution of scopus retrieved documents, distribution of subject domains, distribution of scopus retrieved documents over different subject domains. Of the 90,000 documents, more than 50% documents were devoted on medical science, medicine, and 34% documents were devoted on computer science, followed by engineering science, only 22%, and then health professionals, only 14%, 14.9, nearly 15%, followed by social science, nearly 8%. And biochemistry, genetics and molecular biology 7%, mathematics 6%, nursing 5%, pharmacology and pharmaceuticals 3%, nearly decision science 2%, material science 2.4%, physics and astronomy 2.4%, and others 16%. And these other subjects, other areas include chemistry, agricultural and biological sciences, environmental science, chemical engineering, earth and planetary sciences, neuroscience, immunology and microbiology, arts and humanities, energy studies, overall multidisciplinary subjects, psychology, economics, econometrics and finance, dentistry, veterinary science, and some undefined also. Therefore, so many subjects are hovering around the concept of informatics, or rather I should say the subject informatics is hovering around so many subjects and facets, which clearly indicates the multidisciplinary nature of the subject informatics, which is reflected from Scopus database. Now, top 25 journals on informatics. If we analyze the core journals on informatics which publish the articles on informatics, we will see these journals came from various subject domains. For instance, studies in health technology, Journal of American Medical Informatics, these are medical science journal. Lecture note in computer science, this is computer science journal. Lecture note in bioinformatics, Journal of Digital Imaging, photography journal, IEEE Transaction on Industrial Informatics. So many subject oriented journals are there. Now, let us analyze document types. Of the 90,000 informatics documents, 46% comprise articles, research articles, 31% comprise conference paper. This is very interesting point to note. Such a high percentage of conference paper indicates the very dynamic state of the subject. That means the number and frequency of occurrence of seminars, conferences and symposium or workshops in these subjects are very, very high. That's why the conference paper percentage is so high, 31%, while article is 46%, that is less than 50%. Usually for any subject which is rather established, we'll see their article percentage alone figures nearly 3/4, that is 70 to 80%, that is the point. Followed by review papers 7.8%, editorial 3%, followed by book chapter, conference review, these are little less. Notes, survey, letter, errata, book only 0.739%. Number of books on informatics is very little. Then data papers, retraction is also very less. This is very good symptom. And report. So, this is the document type. This is indicated in table. Here it is indicated in figure. Now, top 25 countries having research publications on informatics, which shows of the 90,000 documents on informatics, 1/3, that is around 30,000 was contributed by United States, followed by United Kingdom, UK by only 7%, where it is point to be noted, UK is far behind to United States, US, followed by China. China and UK are very close, followed by Germany, nearly 6%, also very close. Canada 4%, Australia 3.8, nearly 4%, and India 3.5%. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. With respect to contribution of the documents or research on informatics globally, the India has a 7th rank, and this is very good sign. Yes, India comes only after US, UK, China, Germany, Canada, Australia. And in Asia, India only after China. That is very positive indication for us. And after India, so many developed and R&D enabled countries are there, even Japan, Italy, France, Spain, Netherlands, like that. So India is in a very good position and potential position with respect to the research output in the area of informatics. It may be safely stated at this point. So in summary, informatics involves the practice of information processing and the engineering of information systems. The field considers the interaction between human and information. Informatics is the study of how to use computational systems to process and transform information into knowledge. It's a field that focuses on how people interact with technology and how to design systems that are effective and intuitive. Thus, in summary, it can be said that the origin and development of informatics involved the convergence of multiple disciplines, including computer science, information science, and domain-specific knowledge. Informatics is the study, design, and development of information technology that generates, storages, processes, and presents information. Often, informatics is referred to as the science of information. And since 1940s to 50s, the term was first used in Europe, particularly in Germany and France, and it was initially associated with the development of computer science and automation. And during 1970s, the subject was emerged as a distinct field driven by the need for efficient data processing and information management in various sectors such as healthcare, finance, and government. In 1968, the first International Conference on Informatics was held in Germany, making the beginning of informatics as a recognized field. The development of database management systems, data modeling, and data analysis techniques laid the foundation for modern informatics during 1970s. The rise of personal computers, the internet, and networking technologies during 1980s expanded the scope of informatics and enabled new applications. The emergence of the World Wide Web, e-commerce, and digital libraries during 1990s accelerated the growth of informatics. And there are several subfields of informatics like health informatics, develops and applies information technology to improve healthcare delivery and outcome, bioinformatics, which analyzes and interprets biological data such as genomic sequence and protein structure, geoinformatics, uses geographic information systems and spatial analysis to study and manage geographic data, and social informatics examines the social and cultural implications of information technology on individuals and society. Now, current trends and future directions. Now, AI and ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning, informatics is increasingly incorporated AI and ML techniques to analyze and interpret complex data. Now, big data and data science, the growing volume and variety of data require innovative informatic approaches to extract insights and knowledge. This is also very challenging to handle big data. IoT or Internet of Things and cyber physical systems. Informatics is essential for integrating different forms of IoT devices and cyber physical systems. Now, informatics is focusing more on human-centered design and ethical considerations to ensure that information system serves the society in a more compatible way.